Hey everyone, this is Deadpool Negative. I'm back with another review or discussion. This time of Daredevil number 5, or issue 667 if you prefer. I prefer. Um, Before I start with this, I want to apologize to Saladin Ahmed. I mean, I still believe that uh, Spider-Man and Vulture's granddaughter story in ASM 850 is still one of the worst stories I've ever read. But Saladin Ahmed, even though a lot of his comic work isn't just kind of bland and average, he did have one good series, and that's kind of what he's been coasting on these past 5 years, and that's Black Bolt. And if I can ever dig out those out of my pile, I think I will review them because it's basically out of all the avalanche of Unhuman's product that gripped Marvel for what feels like an eternity. That was one of the better ones. That was actually good. I mean, they had a lot of talented people like James Asmus, Charles Sewell, Steve McNiven, Matt Fraction. Well, almost on these books, and they just did not. They were either halfway. None of them really kind of stood out. But Ahmed's Black Bolt series was about Ahmed and absorbing in a sort of a buddy cop story in a intergalactic prison. Really it kind of put him on the map, and it's a good. I mean, and it's not nostalgia. I've looked at it recently, and it's not bad, And I think if I can dig it out, I will maybe review it. But yeah, he has done one really good comic book, and all the rest has either been terrible, or for the most part, just really bland and mediocre. But again, with Daredevil, I think he's it's not great, but it seems to be having momentum in the way of a lot of comics don't. I think a lot of my problem with a lot of bad comics these days, they just don't have any momentum, no grip, there's no drive. And this is actually the end of the arc, even though it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. But this is going to be the last issue in the trade for some reason. This is also a blown up version of the late Tim Hildebrand and the currently living Greg Hildebrand's Marvel Masterpieces card from, I believe this was Marvel Masterpieces 3, so this would be about 1994, this card, because he's wearing the black armor. Yeah, how about that? D.G. Chichester is back writing Daredevil. Never thought that happened. Um, so this is funny. The black armor always looked blue to me because of the way the shading was. But it's meant to be black. So, and then once again, I bought this at Comic Universe in Folsom, Folsom, PSA, Folsom, PA, off MacDade Boulevard. So again, this is the conclusion of the arc, and what I was enjoying about this series is that Ahmed is having Daredevil fight actual demons this time, which he's rarely done. There was a run in Bullseye, but it's not the typical Kingpin. I mean, Kingpin's busy in other books, but I kind of like the fact that he's kind of been kept out of the gang war, and they just threw that to Elektra. And I don't know, it feels interesting in the way that Zdarsky he kind of fell off like after the first couple arcs, and I know a lot of people love Zdarsky, and I just why does Daredevil have to wear why does Elektra have to wear a Daredevil branded costume? That's just like silly to me. Anyway, there's a really I would say this starts. I was saying in the last review there was widescreen Daredevil, and I think while Aaron Kuder sits out this issue, there really is a sense of there's this guy, this artist, he's been around Marvel for about a year or so, named Farid Karami, and he isn't perfect, but he really does great. Like there's when I talk about widescreen Daredevil, I mean stuff like this great shot of him like putting on like his the Daredevil hood priest costume. It's kind of funny looking, and it just looks fantastic. And another thing that this guy writes, he writes sexy women, but like in a fun way. Like this issue is primarily about She-Hulk coming into. Actually, I want to start. There's a really nice little character beat where Father Matt is shopping for a TV in the. He is shopping for a TV, and he says he's shopping for a TV at this smaller store in Midtown Manhattan, and the guy says, "Oh, you're a man of God. the guy's selling it to him is, you're a man of God. You said there's a gift for poor children. You get the family price. And Matt says, in his inner monologue, he says, this, his heartbeat says he's telling the truth. I hate that I feel the need to check. It's a really nice bit of character moment there, like, you know. Um, and then, you know, he's still worried about buying it, but then She-Hulk shows up and helps him buy it. And this is very much the Rainbow Rowell She-Hulk. And it's interesting because Ahmed plays with people who've, I mean, I haven't really read a lot of it, but it's, you know, it's not, it's very much an opposite of the angsty She-Hulk that had been showing up in the Tamaki run and Aaron's Unreadable Avengers run. Although I would say the Tamaki run was about her becoming less angsty in the end, but then Aaron threw all that out because I don't know. So basically she shows up to help him. And there's a funny, Ahmed has an interesting idea with She-Hulk. It's like, wouldn't She-Hulk have to eat a lot because she's a Hulk? You know, and that's something nobody saw before. And like, at least I haven't seen before. And it goes on and goes on and goes on until there's a little reveal about what, I mean, you can kind of figure it out quickly that there's something wrong here. And again, it's a pretty thin plot because eventually Daredevil and She-Hulk have to fight. Daredevil has to figure out a way to take She-Hulk down for a moment. And then another villain shows up and it just becomes like, okay, like in the first couple issues, there was a sense that something was going on where these demonic entities were manipulating events around Daredevil, and they had something to do with maybe the crime, like Bullseye was a part of this, you know, and that's not mentioned in this issue, and except yeah, it's funny, the demonic entities, like, I mean, there is a gang there's a gang called the Heat, but they don't really seem connected to this. They're not even mentioned or connected in this issue. And what happens is, well, you find out that the demonic entities, I'm not sure where Ahmed's going with this. Like, they seem a lot more simple and consequently less interesting when they weren't connected to they weren't connected to any larger. Basically, he's making them look. I'm not sure. Like, it feels like maybe he's decided, like, I mean, no, I should say he's setting up a conflict between Daredevil and these demonic entities, but they also seem more like very simple now. Like, they're not as much as, I want to say there's not a threat, but there's like, it's not as part of some larger storyline. It does connect with the villainous gang, the Heat, but not really, if that makes sense. And again, this issue ends a cliffhanger, but this is the end of the trade. I don't get it. But I would say Karami's artwork here is just really nice. Like, some of its compositions don't exactly work. His action scene, like his Mr. Hyde doesn't really look like Mr. Hyde. It just looks like somebody just said, draw Jack the Ripper, you know, because Mr. Hyde's supposed to be like plus size Jack the Ripper. But you know, he does a good job drawing the demons and makes sure not to draw it in a certain way that almost got everyone in trouble. But yeah, and again, he draws really, really cool ladies. Like, it was in the Venom series. Like, I think the guy really has potential, and you know, of course, he's going to be on a Black Panther Blood Hunt tie-in series. And who's writing that? Let me look it up. Oh. I'll try it. Anyway, once again, this issue was bought at Comic Universe on MacDade Boulevard in Folsom, PA. I'll be back with more reviews, and I will talk to you later.